Morning, Kuhner country. Holy shamoly. Okay, my friends. Hillary Clinton, Hillary Rotten Clinton, the Hildebeest, is in big, big trouble. There is now no question about it. Massive new developments now on the Russiagate front. So, yesterday, this time it was Tulsi Gabbard along with Senator Chuck Grassley. He is the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. What they did was they literally dropped the other shoe. The other shoe has now dropped. And so they took the Durham report. Remember that investigation into Crossfire Hurricane? And there was a part of it, the appendix or the annex as it's called. And Chuck Grassley said that there was so much intelligence, so much important information, highly secret, highly classified, that the Democrats, Biden, Obama, their CIA, FBI, never wanted to see the light of day. Grassley said, I saw it in a skiff. I saw what it contained. So did Tulsi Gabbard. The American people need to know the truth about the Russia collusion hoax and who really started it. Well, guess what? It was Hillary Clinton. Or to be more accurate, a top advisor on her campaign was the one who actually came up with the idea of Russia collusion and then trying to pin it on Trump to distract from Hillary's email server and the massive scandal around that during the 2016 election campaign. So what they did was Grassley asked Tulsi Gabbard and President Trump to declassify the appendix, the annex to the Durham report. She said yes. They declassified it. They gave the information to Grassley. Grassley now has made this information public. Here is now what we know beyond the shadow of a doubt. Through a collection of intelligence reports, memos, and emails. Listen now to this. In the early spring of 2016, now remember the context, because the context explains now everything. We pretty much now know the full story. Hillary Clinton was going to go up against Donald Trump in the election. She had one big problem the whole time, which was the email server, her use of a private email server in which classified, in fact, top secret information had been intercepted. She was using this server off the books, as they say, which is illegal. And then our enemies, because it's got very little protection, were able then to hack into it and steal our national security secrets. And the reason why she kept her email server private, the reason why she didn't go correspond through the State Department and where secretaries of state always are supposed to go through official channels, is because of the Clinton Foundation. They were selling access, and they didn't want anybody to catch them as they raked in hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to line her pockets and that of her sleazy scumbag husband, Bill Clinton. And so she set up this server in the basement, right, in fact, in the bathroom, right near the toilet, in the basement of one of her homes. And this is how she was conducting official business while Secretary of State. This scandal had been broken, and it was consuming the Hillary campaign. She and her advisors were petrified that this was going to completely blow wide open and that this would give Trump the decisive advantage and that he would take the presidency away from her, which she thought was rightfully hers. And so she, along with her campaign staff, decided to hatch a scheme. They made it up. They were saying openly, and it's in the memos, it's in the declassified annex, whereby they say to each other, we need, their words, not mine, to distract from the email server scandal. And one of her top aides Julianne Smith, she goes by Julie in most correspondence. Julie then says, hey, let's make Russia a domestic policy issue. Hey, let's say that Trump has ties not just to Vladimir Putin, but that Putin is trying to help Trump get elected by interfering in our elections. She even goes so far as to say, and in fact, let's say that Trump has business ties to the quote-unquote Russian mafia. And Hillary Clinton said, that is a brilliant idea. There is a key email. It's all there now. There's more than enough evidence to bury all of them. To bury Hillary, to bury Obama, to bury Brennan, to bury Comey, to bury Clapper, because they're all implicated. They're all in on these email chains and these memos. So, Julie, now just to back up 1 second, Julie Smith would later be rewarded for everything she did. Biden made her his ambassador to NATO. So she would get a very plum job because she was the one who orchestrated the Russia collusion hoax. And so even though Trump won, when Biden stole the election and had to staff his administration, they made sure to keep her quiet because everybody's got to get paid off, that she got a really nice job in the Biden administration. Now, another key character, this name is very important. There are two names that you've never heard of that now are going to really they're breaking the scandal wide open. One is Juliana Smith, Julie Smith. The other one is Leonard Bernardo, Benardo. He goes by Lenny. Anyway, Leonard Bernardo was the senior vice president, you guessed it, for George Soros's Open Society Foundations. So Soros is now connected in the Russia collusion hoax. And so he tasked one of his top people, this guy Bernardo, Lenny, to now help the Clintons execute their plan to frame Trump as an agent of Russia. And so, in a series of emails, he lays it all out. He's going back and forth with Julie Smith. He's going back and forth with Hillary Clinton. He's going back and forth now with key people in the Obama regime. And this is now what he writes. Quote, Julie says it will be a long-term affair to demonize Putin and Trump. That was in a July 25, 2016 memo that many of them are in on. Now, it is good for a post-convention bounce. Later, the FBI will put more oil into the fire. So, what they're saying is, and they lay it out, we're not just talking about a one-week scandal where we're going to try to claim, he's with Putin, he's with the Russians, he's colluding. No. This is going to be a long-term affair. We're going to run with this the whole summer, the whole fall. We're going to run with this for months. But we got a good bounce out of it because remember, in the summer, they were beginning to attack Trump along those lines. That's when they began to send it out to all their media friends. And they just said, disseminate. Go out there, the drive-bys, as Rush called them, the drive-by media. Go in there, shoot the place up, and keep moving. Well, in this case, shoot Trump up. Agent of Russia, colluding with the Russians. Russia is trying to help Trump steal the election. And so he says, look, we got a really nice bounce out of the Democratic convention as we were pushing this story. So then he says, Comey, who is then FBI director, is going to, quote, pour more oil into the fire, meaning he's going to now really blow this thing up. So we've got Comey on board. Now, here is the smoking gun email. 2 days later, this is now late July 2016. Here it is. HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton, approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections. That should distract people from her own missing emails, especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level. That the Olympic level is a reference to the doping scandal in Russia after the Sochi Winter Olympics. In other words, they found out it was state-sponsored. The media went crazy. Remember, the Russians were suspended. So they're saying, if this email scandal really, if this really gets blown wide open, we need something to distract. This is the story to distract. And then Bernardo says, here it is. The point is making the Russian play a U.S. domestic issue. Okay, my friends. So now with the declassification of the appendix to the Durham report, it's all come out now. There's no question. Look, we all knew this. Many of you are going to say to me, Jeff, but we knew all this. Yes, but now it's been unequivocally proven. That's the difference. In other words, now we've got, as they say, the receipts. We've got the paper trail. We've got the memos, the emails, the reports, the correspondence, the whole enchilada, baby. And so this is now what we know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now there's no question. Who came up with the very notion, the conception, that Trump was in bed with the Russians? It was not just Hillary Clinton. In fact, to be more accurate, it was Juliana Smith. Julia or Julia? Julia Smith. She literally invented this, and we know because they admit it, to distract from Hillary's email server scandal. They then said that they went with it to Obama's people. Obama's people, led by Brennan, Clapper, and Comey now. Comey now, in this aspect, Comey plays a massive role. And Comey says, don't worry. We're going to add meat to the bones. I'm going to force people to basically say, oh, yeah, this is very serious, very credible. We're looking into this. So it came from the Hillary Clinton political campaign, who then, now, this is very important. There is another key smoking gun memo. There are several smoking gun memos. Look, politically, she's going to hang. The only question now is, does Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, do they have the guts, the courage, the nerve to arrest her, indict her, and put her in jail? That's now the only question, okay? Because the Hildebeest now is up to her eyeballs in legal jeopardy. So it went from the political campaign, and then they went to what they called secret services. That's the term that's used now in these memos. Hillary's secret services. Well, what are these secret services? The CIA and the FBI. And so she went to them with the full knowledge and support of the dear leader, Barack Hussein Obama. And they said, don't worry about it. We're going to add, quote, oil to the fire. We are going to really now gin up this. We're going to gin up this scandal. We're going to manufacture it. We're going to contrive it. We're going to blow it up into the scandal of the century. And then they employed CrowdStrike in particular, very close to the Hillary Clinton campaign, basically a public relations, media relations firm. And they said, don't worry about it. Through CrowdStrike and a couple of other groups, this is going to go to the New York Times, to the Washington Post. This is CNN. To all of the big networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, Associated Press. We're going to go to MSNBC, the Wall Street Journal, you name it. And we are going to get this out, and they're going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And so they took information that they knew was a lie, that they knew, in fact, was the brainchild, not even of Hillary Clinton. It was the brainchild of Julia Smith, this foreign policy advisor. And then they said, we're going to weaponize it. We're going to add to it. We're going to manufacture it. And then we are going to frame an innocent man. We're going to smear him. In fact, the term they use in one of the memos is, quote, smear Trump as colluding with Putin and as doing business with, quote, the Russian mafia. Now, there are so many dimensions to what came out yesterday and Wednesday. Because now, what does the dear leader do? What does Barack Hussein Obama do? Because he doesn't want Trump to win. He wants Hillary to win now. He's going to pass the baton off to Hillary for many reasons. The Democrats want to keep control of power, but he's got to cover up his crimes over his 8 years. So he can't have the Hildebeest fall. Well, here it comes. In another key memo, it now comes out, and this is again through this guy Bernardo, okay? Leonard Bernardo, George Soros, senior vice president at the Open Society Foundations. He then quotes an intelligence report that says Obama doesn't want to see his quote-unquote legacy or the second part of his presidency, quote-unquote, darkened by Hillary's scandal, her email scandal. And he's petrified that the FBI is going to pursue it aggressively, actually really investigate it, and that she may end up going to jail. And it says explicitly, Obama's telling people, if Hillary goes to jail over the email server, we're all going down. Trump is going to win. And then we're all going to be in big trouble. And so then Obama decides, and this is now again, the memo, we have it. Again, I keep stressing this now. This is now 1,000% proven. There's no getting around it. He then orders his attorney general in the spring and summer of 2016. He tells her, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, you've got to tell Comey and you've got to tell the FBI Hillary Clinton is going to skate on the emails. You're going to do a nice dog and pony show. We looked into it. It was reprehensible. It was bad. But you cannot prosecute. They gave the order to Comey. You're going to drop the charges. You're going to exonerate Hillary Rotten Clinton. And what did he do that fateful summer? He exonerated Hillary Rotten Clinton. Okay, this thing is loaded with information. I got to say again, man, the Tulsi Gabbard has delivered again. And I want to give a big hat tip to Senator Chuck Grassley, because he pushed for this as well. He saw the information, he saw the bombshells, and he just said, the American people, they need to hear it as well. So I want to just read to you a little bit more, if you don't mind. I want to take calls, obviously. Now, what many of you are saying to the Kuhner man on Messenger, text line, emails, is when are they finally going to arrest Hillary? And I agree with you, please. I mean, like, what are they, now, after this, like, what are they waiting for? And you're right. You're completely right. But I got to stress this in all seriousness, okay? I like to tease Hillary and mock her and make fun of her, of cackles and the Hildebeest. But my God, is this damaging information. I mean, remember I used the analogy, you see lipstick on your spouse's collar. You smell woman's perfume. He's coming home late every night. whatever. You see, you look at his phone and who's this woman he keeps texting all the time? Okay, you know what's going on. You know it's an affair, but you don't actually have 100% proof. Now you hire a detective, i.e. Tulsi Gabbard, and she comes back with picture after picture after picture of him naked, the mistress naked, and they're in bed. I mean, there it is. Here's more. You want more? Here's more. Here's more. You want more? Here's more. Here's them doing it like this. And then they're doing it like that. And then, whatever. Here it is. Here it is. So this is such incredibly damaging information that honestly, I can't believe they were so stupid or honestly so arrogant. And that's what it is. It's arrogance to have put it all down. Because they honestly thought they were never going to get caught. Look, the one other thing that screams at you when you look at these memos and this declassified intelligence now that we're looking at, they were so confident, so cocky, so assured that Hillary was going to win. They thought there's no way Trump is going to win. We got this thing in the bag. We just got to make sure that we deal with that email server scandal. They thought that's the only thing now that can sink her. So, let's frame Donald Trump as an agent of Russia, colluding with Putin. and that came straight from Hillary and her people. So there was never any quote-unquote evidence for this. There was never any quote-unquote intelligence for this. They literally, it's like, you and me at my house having pizza and saying, how do we knock out our political opponent? Hey, really? You think we can sell this? Yeah. Hey, I know Comey. Put him on the phone. Brennan. Yeah. Hey, Clapper. Hey. And I know people at the New York Times. I know people at the Washington Post. I know people at CNN. Oh, they'll love this. Oh, they're going to milk this for all that it's worth. And then the FBI will just add stuff. We'll just fluff it up a little bit. And that's why, by the way, they paid for the Steele dossier. That's where the Steele dossier comes in. And that's when he went on with these fantastical claims of Russia, Trump colluding with the Russian mafia, Trump colluding with Russian oligarchs. They came up with the Alpha Bank, these banks where money's being laundered. No evidence, no corrupt, just literally out of this guy's mind. The golden showers, he's with prostitutes in the same room that Obama and Michelle were in Moscow. Put that in there, yeah. And, he's getting urinated on. Forgive me, he's getting peed on. And then just sell it. Just give it to the media, and they'll run with it. They'll run with it. I want you to listen to this. In a memo, Obama, here's what one of the memos wrote. Quote, Obama has no intention to darken the final part of his presidency and quote-unquote legacy by the scandal, this is the email scandal, surrounding the main contender from the DP, Democratic Party. And so there's another memo that then says, quote, that Obama has sanctioned the use of all administrative levers to remove possibly negative effects from the FBI investigation of cases related to the Clinton Foundation and the email correspondence in the State Department, i.e., everything, the FBI's investigation of her private email server and how she was enriching herself with the Clinton Foundation, and that's why they kept the emails and the server off the books. And so they're now saying, no, Obama has sanctioned this. Basically, look, you're going to remove anything negative that can come from this FBI investigation. You got it? No one's going to jail. None of her aides. Nothing. Do you understand? Certainly not her. Now, then, of course, Trump wins. This is the part that shocked them. And so, 2 days after Trump wins, now Obama's in a panic. His people around him are in a panic because now Trump's going to come in. And remember, he ran on draining the swamp. This is the swamp. I mean, you don't get more swampy than this. This is dirty. This is corrupt. You want to talk about anti-democratic. You want to talk about a threat to democracy. Okay, this is treason. This is a seditious conspiracy. This is abuse of power. This is crime upon crime upon crime. And so now, what are they going to do? Well, then Obama tells them in that room with Brennan, with Clapper, with Comey, with Loretta Lynch, you're going to come up now with an intelligence assessment that Trump is in the back pocket of Vladimir Putin and that we're investigating this even further and that this may have actually impacted the election. That really, wink, wink, Trump is illegitimate. Why is he illegitimate? Because Putin really helped him win. Putin helped him win. They effectively stole it from Hillary. And that's the line we're going to take. You got it? And that's going to sabotage Trump, undermine his presidency. He's going to be paralyzed with investigation after investigation after investigation. There's going to be a special counsel. In other words, they were planning on removing him from office as an agent of Russia, even though they knew that they were lying through their effing teeth, that the whole damn thing was concocted by them. Now, there's more. There's so much more, but I want to stop now, digest, and I want to take calls from all of you. 617-266-6868 is the number. I want to ask you really now the two key questions. Number one, with all of this now that has come out, with Hillary Clinton's nefarious role, should Hillary Clinton, remember, she has no immunity. You can't even, she was never president, so you can't even argue immunity. Should Hillary Clinton now go to jail? Should Trump do what he promised in his first term? Lock her up. Okay, clearly now, in the wake of yesterday and Wednesday, there were two big document dumps, if you want to call them, declassification of very sensitive intelligence. I'm going to get to the other one later in the show. Tulsi Gabbard now has provided whistleblowers. Whistleblowers now, high-ranking senior whistleblowers, who are now on the record saying they lied about Russia. They told us to lie about Russia. We knew that Trump never colluded with Putin, never colluded with the Kremlin, but literally we were threatened that if we did not go along, it would destroy our careers. So I'm going to get to that a little bit later in the show. First, listen now to Caroline Leavitt, press secretary, on the newly declassified evidence that it was Hillary Clinton and her advisors who ultimately pushed, conceived, and approved of the Russia collusion hoax. She says, Caroline Leavitt, Trump wants justice. Roll cut 11. Mike.
Since you brought up the declassification report that was put out by Senator Grassley today, I'm glad you brought it up because this should be a story every outlet in this room should be covering. This is further evidence that Hillary Clinton approved the Russia hoax against President Trump. Her campaign financed it. Again, she approved it. And the FBI and the CIA were both weaponized to, as our director of CIA has said, accelerate this hoax against then candidate and former President Trump. To answer the heart of your question, the president wants to see justice served, and he trusts the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to implement that justice and hold these people accountable.
Now, that's the question. The president wants to see them held accountable. But will Hillary Clinton be held accountable? Honestly, will anybody be held accountable? I mean, at this point, forget Obama, forget even the Hildebeest. Is anybody going to be held accountable? Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Loretta Lynch, Andy McCabe, the deputy under Comey? Is anybody? Seriously, is anybody? Because here's the problem. What's the point? You can find out all the information you want, and I'm not denying that the information here is more than damaging. I mean, this is it. This is the legal kill shot. There's no getting out of this. They've got him now 6 ways to Sunday. This is crime upon crime. This is as close to surveillance video footage showing you robbing the freaking bank. It doesn't get more black and white than this. It just doesn't. And Gabbard is saying, and I believe her, because so far she's not lied a single time. Every step of the way, everything she said she was going to do, she's done. To me, she's 1,000% credible. Gabbard says, and we got more. Like, much more. Like, the problem now is we could just bury you with all this material. You know, after a while, it's almost like too much information, too much evidence. Okay, so the question is anybody going to go to freaking jail? Hell, is anybody even going to be arrested? Because if no one is held accountable, then what's the point of all this? And more importantly, if no one is held accountable, I want you to think now. So this is the message now that we're going to send. That a president of the United States could literally lie to the American people, frame the incoming president as a traitor, as an agent of a foreign power, concoct, contrive, manufacture fake evidence, corrupt the entire FBI to do it, the DOJ to do it, the CIA to do it, and then sabotage the incoming president and try to overthrow him from power based on lies, pure lies, fed to the media, and the media mindlessly, deliberately repeating it. And nothing happens? Well, then what do you think is going to happen? They're going to do it again. Of course they're going to do it again. Who wouldn't do it again? You'd be crazy not to do it again. So we're going to turn the FBI now into a political football? Hey, JD, looks like JD may win. We can't have another MAGA term. Can you, guys, give me, what is he? He's in bed with the India? He's got an Indian wife? Okay, he's in bed with the Indians. Okay? India. He's a secret agent of India. He's a fifth column. He's colluding with the Indians. Get it out there. But it's not true. Hey, I pay your salary. When I say jump, you jump. You just say how high. So that's what I want the FBI to do, the CIA to do. Come on, let's go. Let's go. It will turn our institutions into a mockery. The FBI, they've already, to me, done irreparable damage, frankly. Does anybody really trust the FBI? Do you? I don't. Do you really trust the CIA? I don't. Do you trust the Department of Justice? I don't. You know, I did a hit yesterday on Newsmax. It was a pre-taped interview with a couple of other panelists for the Wendy Bell Show. In my area, it comes on Saturday, I believe, 3 o'clock. So I will be on again this weekend. And one of the things I pointed out about this entire Russiagate scandal, I said, yes, it's treason, and Obama should go to jail. But it's not just that it's treason, which is horrible. It's the highest crime possible in a republic. They have destroyed all faith and trust in many of our leading institutions. Institutions that a republic needs. You need a Department of Justice. Of course you do. You need law enforcement to function and to be trusted. How else are you going to have law and order? You need some kind of an intelligence service. Why? Because you have to know what your enemies are plotting to do. But if you've completely corrupted them and weaponized them and taken away, destroyed all of their credibility, then no one's ever going to believe them. They're useless. We don't have a country anymore. We don't have a society anymore. And then I said to me, maybe the ultimate sin, the ultimate crime, ever since this plan was hatched and how aggressively they pushed it and promoted it and really indoctrinated people, brainwashed people. Look, you have idiots like Bill in Sudbury. This was a couple days ago. This idiot is still calling saying Trump should have denounced Putin in Helsinki. I'm like, denounced him over what? The evidence is clear as day. It's on top of your head. There never was any Russia collusion, ever. Putin wasn't lying. Putin was telling the truth. Our intelligence community lied, and they framed Trump. And now there's literally a mountain of evidence proving it, beyond a shadow of a doubt. But they're so brainwashed and indoctrinated, they can't let it go. It split this country in half. It tore our country apart. It divided families. I'm telling you, it split marriages. I know it destroyed relationships, because I had friends tell me, my girlfriend, who I've known for many years, we were thinking of getting married, says now, I'm an agent of Russia because I support Donald Trump. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, well, yeah, Trump's an agent of Russia. He's colluding with Putin. How dare you? You're a traitor for supporting him. She ended up breaking off the relationship. He couldn't believe it. So it has literally destroyed relationships, destroyed families, destroyed friendships, and it has split our country apart. And what? They're just going to skate? What we're going to, Mike, if you can get Hillary Clinton cackling, can you do me a favor? Get one. I hate her cackle, but in this case, is this going to be the response to all of this? Where the Hildebeest just cackles? You're not getting me. So the very powerful, the criminals, the corrupt of the corrupt, the elites, they're never held accountable. There's two, we live in a two-tier society. One justice system for them, which is essentially no justice, because there's no accountability. And then for the rest of us, you literally, they throw you in jail over nothing. Over nothing. So is this anarcho-tyranny is what it's called. It's anarchy for the elites. They can do whatever they want, and their supporters in the underclass. If you notice, if you're tied to the elites, you can riot, you can loot, you can plunder, you can even murder. Look at the George Floyd riots. Look at Antifa. Nothing ever happens to them. It's pure anarchy. But if you're a hardworking, working class, middle class, law-abiding citizen who still believes in, I don't know, truth, justice, and the American way, it's tyranny. It's lockdowns. You're going to take that freaking jab. We're going to take your job. What? You're a mother and you want to go and complain about the curriculum at the local school board? You're a terrorist. We're going to put you in jail. Oh, you're Donald Trump? We're going to get you on bookkeeping. Blank you, man. Yeah, we're going to raid your home. Guns blazing, shoot to kill. And we're going to go right through your wife's underwear. What they were looking for in that raid, and we now know it beyond the shadow of a single doubt, the files that are now being declassified, they wanted to know, did Trump have them? If Trump had them, they knew he could sink them. And that's why they rummaged through, they looked at everything. They went through safes, they went through drawers, they went through every single room in that house, every square inch. And notice, when they came in guns blazing, what was the first thing they did? Knock out all the cameras. so you couldn't see what they were looking for. It never had anything to do. Remember, it's so-called classified documents, which he had every right to have, but let that go. That was the fig leaf. That was the cover story. That was the excuse. That was the Trojan horse. Just get in there. What does this guy have? They were covering up for the dear leader. They were covering up for the Hildebeest. And they were covering up for these band of criminals. And that's what they are. They're a band of criminals. Whether it's Clapper, whether it's Comey, whether it's McCabe, whether it's Brennan, whether it's Loretta Lynch, whether it's, I don't care who it is now at this point. This Julia Smith, by the way, now it's no comment. She had a big freaking mouth when she was an ambassador to NATO. Big freaking mouth during the 2016 election campaign. Now all of a sudden, quiet. This guy, Lenny Bernardo, big senior vice president, George Soros, big mouth. Now, no comment. No comment. If we don't get justice for this, I'm telling you, we're a banana republic. And I'm just going to say one last thing, because this needs to be said. I love Lithuania. Don't take this the wrong way, okay? That small Baltic country. I love them all. I love Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Honestly, I love all of them. Central Europeans, Eastern Europeans. That's where my parents are from, my heritage, my ancestors. Don't take this the wrong way. The Prime Minister of Lithuania, okay? Lithuania was just forced to resign. They caught him stealing money, graft, corruption, bribery. He's gone. He's gone. The Prime Minister, okay, the top dog, he's out. Now, I can give you country after country all across Central Eastern Europe whereby presidents and prime ministers are not just ousted from power because of corruption, because of abuse of power, because of crimes that they've committed. They actually, some of them literally go to jail. Prime ministers, presidents, they go to jail. Slovakia, Serbia, Croatia, Poland, I could go on and on. Lithuania, now, I can give you. My point being that even in the former communist bloc, even in Eastern Europe, where they say, take, but not so much. Like, don't be so freaking greedy. Eventually, they say, it's too much. It's too much. And they arrest your ass, or they at least throw you out from power. You're, at a minimum, you're shamed and disgraced. Often, you end up behind bars. We can't even do what the Lithuanians have done. Or what the other Eastern Europeans have done. Like, dude, when you're caught, and there's no going back. We can't even do that. Now you're caught. And God is my witness. The fake news media, the very ones who pushed the Russia collusion hoax, who were complicit in this up to their eyeballs, who knew it was a lie, who spread it thousands and thousands and thousands of times in thousands of different ways. Now suddenly, it's like this never happened. They haven't reported on this bombshell declassification of the Durham Annex, the appendix. Nothing. Nothing. They're not reporting on it. They refuse to report on it. The bombshell revelations of Tulsi Gabbard, the whistleblower now, that came out and said, no, they told me if I know what's good for me, I better agree to this. They literally threatened me. Nothing. Nothing. They can't even report on the biggest scandal in American history. Because they're banking. If they don't report, and you got Pam Bondi as the Attorney General, doorknob, and you've got Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, the two blowhards, that nothing is going to happen. And again, I look at this administration, and I only see two people who really want justice. The president, God bless him, and Tulsi Gabbard. That's it. That's it. Now, I'm hoping it's enough. I'm sorry, you look at this. How do you not put handcuffs on Hillary? Let's just take Hillary Clinton. There's no way this woman can skate now. So we shall see. But I'm telling you, this is our litmus test. After this, if nobody's held accountable, we're a banana republic. I don't care if that's Donald Trump in office or not. I love the guy. I love his presidency. But guys, if Lithuania can start arresting people, or at least ousting them from power and shaming them, if Eastern Europeans can start arresting their leaders for obvious crimes, then I'm sorry. If we can't do that, we're a banana republic. That's what the stakes are as far as I'm concerned. Now, when I was on the panel yesterday, there was a nice woman from San Diego. She's a conservative. Anyway, long story short, she didn't like the host, Wendy Bell, asked, of all of the players involved, Obama, Hillary, Brennan, Comey, Clapper, the whole gang, who would you like to see go to prison? Like, who's the one? If you could only pick one. And I said right away, well, Obama, the dear leader. Why? Because he's like the godfather of these crime families. He's the godfather. He's the number one guy. He orchestrated it. He masterminded it. He ordered it. He directed it. Everything goes back to him. Everything. Even what the Hillary Clinton did. Had he not signed off on it, this thing would not have had legs. And so I said Obama needs to go to jail. She didn't like that. I mean, if you watch the show, you'll see what I mean. She says that we have to lower our expectations. Again, I'm saying this respectfully because I like this woman. Her name is Andrea. Very nice woman. Very smart woman. But I didn't have a chance to rebut. She said her point, and I didn't get a chance to get my rebuttal to her. But I'm thinking to myself, why do we have to lower our expectations? She's going on about, well, there's presidential immunity, there's this. I go, when do the Democrats ever lower their expectations? Only we Republicans, or we conservatives, to be more accurate, we're always lowering our expectations. That's just not possible. That's just not feasible. Well, I'm sorry, why? The Democrats arrested Trump. Not once, not twice, not even 4 times. They cracked that stone. So you mean Democrats can arrest a former president, but we can't? Notice, they never lower their expectations. Remember Nancy Pelosi, again, to give that thug her due. And by the way, they've nailed her on insider trading. Again, it's only a question now whether Bondi can pull the trigger on that. But they got her dead to rights on insider trading. But that's another story. Let that go. Remember on Obamacare? What did she say? There was massive opposition in the country. Majority opposition against. Didn't have the votes in the House and in the Senate. What did she say? We're going to breach the wall. We're going to jump over the wall. We're going to parachute over the wall. In other words, we're going to do whatever we have to do to get this thing passed. And we'll break every procedure, every norm, whatever's got to be done, man. That thing is going to pass. Notice, they never say, we got to lower our expectations. Hey, people don't want it. We don't got the votes. Got to lower our expectations. No, they never lower their expectations. So they put Navarro's ass in jail over nothing. They made it up. Bannon over nothing. They made it up. Look what they did to General Flynn. They destroyed that man over a lie. I almost caught myself. Over an effing lie. Over a lie. You've got the most treasonous president in our history directing the greatest scandal in American history. And we're like the Cleveland Indians. Or whatever now, the Cleveland Guardians, or whatever they're called. Let's put here, the Cleveland Browns, okay? The NFL football team, okay? Maybe one of the worst franchises ever, okay? It's a loser franchise. I'm sorry, but that's a fact, okay? They never win. They just can't win. Why? Because they've lost even before they've gotten onto the field. to win. We got to lower expectations, guys. Well, we can't win. What do you mean win? We don't win. We never win. I don't want to be the Cleveland Browns of politics, where we never freaking win. You say Obama has immunity. I don't. I don't think it's part of its core functions to sabotage an incoming president. 617-266-6868 is the number. Just talking with Mike off air. And Mike is, Jeff, I mean, he's going on about Obama. He's going on about Hillary Clinton. Mike doesn't know what's keeping them standing. And I said, because Mike's a big football fan. And I said, Mike, really? Cleveland Browns, huh? Huh, Mike? Are they not one of the biggest loser organizations ever? Again, I love Cleveland, love the people of Cleveland, but just as a football team, my God, does that organization suck. And I'm telling you, that's conservatives. We never win. We never think of winning. We're always lower your expectations. No, why can't we win the Super Bowl? Like, seriously, why? Everybody else does. Why can't we? So you mean the Lithuanians can overthrow the prime minister and put him up on corruption charges? And we can't? On actual real crimes. And the Democrats, I know I've made this point, I want to go to the phone lines, but the Democrats can go after a former president 4 freaking times on nothing. They're always going for broke. Us. Whoa, hey. No, you're not getting Obama. No, you're not getting Hillary. No, you're not getting Biden. No, Loretta Lynch. No, hey. Brennan, no. Clapper, no. Comey, no. I'm not kidding. Maybe McCabe, Deputy FBI. Oof. I'm getting nervous. I get nervous. How about what? Peter Strzok? Lisa Page? How about them? Are they low enough on the food chain? Remember when I had that fraud, Jim Jordan? Remember him, Mr. Tough Guy? He's only great for the one-liners at these House committee hearings. That's all he's good for the camera. He rolls up his sleeves. He takes his jacket off. He loosens his tie. And then he's always outraged, but nothing ever happens. Remember when I had him on the show? And I said, this was when Biden was president. I said, how about you guys impeach Biden? Oh, no. You won't impeach Biden, the president? No. But they impeached Trump on nothing multiple times. No. Don't even mention it. And then I said, well, okay, over the open border, how about, I don't know, Mayorkas? And remember what he said? I think we can do him. Of course they didn't. They didn't touch him. But in other words, well, he's low enough, maybe. DHS secretary, maybe. I think we can beat the New York Jets. You think so? Yeah, no. Cleveland Browns. 617-266-6868 is the number. Agree, disagree. Sal in Merrimack Valley. Thanks for holding, Sal, and welcome.
This just goes to show you how demonic and evil these Democrats are, hearing all this stuff coming out.
Sal, are you shocked at the extent of how they fabricated this? How there was no hook whatsoever, not even a scintilla, even a nut of information or intelligence, where you say, okay, well, they took a small thing and then they amplified it, that this was so manufactured, really by a young advisor, a female advisor to Hillary, who they were saying, this email scandal, that's the only one that could get us. How do we distract? And she comes out and says, hey, let's make Russia a domestic issue. Let's just tie Trump to Russia. You're a genius. Are you shocked at just how manufactured and orchestrated and planned to the detail all of this was.
Headed, and I think the whole time this was going on, we knew this was manufactured. I don't think there's any question that Columbo could have solved this case in one episode. So no, I don't think it's not surprising to me, because the whole time I knew something was going on.
Sal, look, let me ask, and maybe people are just getting cynical, and I don't blame them, and a little bit, jaded, and again, I don't blame them. Sal, do you think Hillary's going to go to jail? Or at a minimum, are we going to see her in handcuffs? Is she going to be arrested? Will anybody be held accountable? What do you think, Sal?
I'm trying to think how Matt Gaetz would have handled this if he was the AG. I think he was a little bit more of a pit dog. I don't think Pam Bondi has the gumption to prosecute Hillary or even Obama or pretty much anybody. So I don't think anyone's gonna go to jail, which is sad. But I don't think anyone's gonna go to jail.
That's my fear. That's my real concern. That's my fear. Sal, thank you very much for that call. If this was Matt Gaetz, he'd be cracking heads right now. Heads would be rolling. I'm thinking, right? Am I wrong? Gaetz, knowing Gaetz, he's a gunslinger. A political, legal gunslinger. This guy, there would be arrest. At a minimum, he'd be going after the McCabe's, the Comeys, the Brennans, the Clappers, working his way up towards, say, Hillary or Obama. At a bare minimum. Now you know why the swamp, the establishment, fought tooth and nail to guarantee that Gaetz not be the Attorney General. Because they knew with this guy, people are really going to go to jail. In other words, the Cleveland Browns are really going to win the Super Bowl. We can't have that. 617-266-6868. Tim in South Carolina. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi.
It's always a pleasure. I just wanted to state that President Trump's presidency will be a failure. I repeat, a failure if arrests aren't made. An epic failure. And I am his largest supporter. He doesn't do this, it erases anything good he's doing right now. Anything. I don't care what it is. They've got the goods on all of them. And you can name names. We already have Mayorkas, Pelosi, whoever. If he doesn't make arrests.
617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to go right back to Tim in South Carolina. Tim, just before I do, because Matt Gaetz' name is being thrown around a lot. What if he was the Attorney General? Would things be different? Maybe Trump should have him appointed as a special counsel to look into Russiagate. So this is now what Matt Gaetz is saying on X. Quote, this is in the relation now to the newly declassified appendix, the annex to the Durham report that was released yesterday about Hillary now and how she was directly involved in the Russia collusion hoax. And of course, Obama's role in it. So here's what he wrote. We were right. This was a coup. Obama ordered it. Hillary endorsed it. The intel agencies peddled it. And the legacy media ran with it. I think he's right. In other words, what Gaetz is saying is take them all down. He goes, this was a coup or an attempted coup. No question. And who was the ultimate mastermind? Who ordered all this? It was Obama. Who was the one that came up with it and endorsed it? It was Hillary. The intel agencies, the CIA, FBI in particular, they're the ones who pushed it, peddled it. And it was the legacy media, the fake news media. They were the ones who ran with it. I would just have ran with it, like crazy. They didn't just, write a story here or there. Tim, as you remember, It was 24/7 saturation coverage. I mean, they gave themselves Pulitzers. You know, a New York Times, literally half the newspaper was on Russia. The Russiagate, the Russia collusion. Washington Post, it was half the paper. It was every day. 3, 4 front page stories. CNN, nonstop. MSNBC, nonstop. The nightly news, nonstop. It was just wall-to-wall coverage. And Gates is saying we were 1,000% vindicated, and they all need to go down. Tim, I want to come back to you. You said you're a big Trump supporter, maybe one of the biggest in the country, and he's done incredible things, and you love what he's done. But if people don't go to jail over this, if people aren't held accountable and prosecuted, you are going to say that Trump's presidency ultimately was a failure. Tim, can you please just why? Just if you could elaborate on that.
Jeff, because the other side still has a lot of power, We won the election back in November, but the other side, they control the media still. Just think about that, just right off the bat. They control senators. They control congressmen. They control mayors, governors. They control other so-called elected officials in cities and towns all around the country. The enemy is still doing their duties, if you will. They have way too much power. He has to remove them. He has to apprehend them. If he doesn't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that we're making money off of tariffs. It really doesn't. The enemy is still there in the seat, so to speak. They're still there, and they're very strong and powerful. You have to arrest them. There was a part of me who expected when I woke up this morning to hear that federal agents were taking Hillary into custody. I woke up, I didn't see that, of course. I think he should be doing this imminently. This needs to happen well within the next 24, 48, 72 hours. He needs to take the country back. He hasn't done that yet.
Tim, I think very powerful. Very powerfully said. It's funny how you and I are simpatico on so many things, because when this story broke yesterday, and of course I began to read it, I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, I couldn't wait for this, because she had teased it for a while. She said, no, you're going to see more. Tulsi Gabbard. She goes, trust me, you're going to see more. And in the Durham report, the stuff they didn't want the public to see, we're going to declassify. So, and I've come to the point now, Tulsi Gabbard delivers. To me, I call her the closer. She closes. Everything she does, she closes that deal. Okay, so I said, no, if she says it's big, it's big. And of course it was big. And I'm going through this, and honestly, I'm like, she's going to be Hillary, she's going to be in handcuffs. How do you not put her in handcuffs? And it's just, as you're reading this, it's one bombshell after another, after another, after another. From her staff, people she's communicating with. I mean, that's another thing. Honestly, Tim, and not to be flippant about this, I swear to you, I would arrest all of them for being that stupid. Like, who puts all this down on paper? Like, you know what a moron you gotta be? Like, I mean, man, were they arrogant. Oh, were they? I mean, they thought they were going to be in power for 100 years. You can see that. Tim, I want to ask you this question. I normally don't do this, but I want to make an exception. It's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, okay? And I normally don't ask a single person the poll question, but I want to ask you, because I think this is the crux of the issue now, okay? There's Obama, which is important, but there's also Hillary. And those are the two heads of the snake. So let me just talk about one head. What do you think is more likely going to happen? Now, I know what you want to see happen and the consequences if it doesn't happen, but I want to ask you now, what do you think will happen? What is now more likely in your view? That Trump is going to leave office and Hillary is going to not be charged? basically she skates? Or do you think that Hillary will be criminally charged before Trump leaves office?
I think Hillary will be arrested. I do think that. The weaker links are Comey. We've seen his personality. He's weak, Jeff. He'll sing. Clapper will sing. The very next day, he's looking for a lawyer. He ran to CNN. He's scared. Those are the people who will be arrested first, the Clapper, the Comey. And we already have people singing. They're going to sing, and it brings the rest down. I don't think Obama will be arrested right away. But Hillary, Clapper, Comey, and the rest of the team, yes, I think that they will be arrested, and it should be imminent again. He has not taken the country back. He has not. Well, there's a lot more coming. I don't want to see any more. I've seen enough. Take the country back.
Amen. Amen. Tim, really nice call. Thank you for that call. 617-266-6868. Okay, speaking of the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, let me ask all of you. It is sponsored by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. And look, you know me. I'm always laid back about the question of the day. You want to answer it, great. If not, it's a free country. Please, on this one, Kuhner Country, if you could do me a bit of a favor, I really want to take the temperature of this great audience, because your judgment is often right and it's often spot on. So I really want to get your sense of this. So if you could vote, I would really appreciate it. So let me ask you again, it's sponsored by Mario's Quality, Siding, Roofing, and Windows. Which will happen first? Trump will leave office, or Hillary Clinton will be criminally charged? In other words, really, is she going to get justice? Okay, that's the ultimate, idea behind the question. But what's going to happen first? A, Trump leaves. In other words, Hillary skates. Or B, Hillary is charged. A, Trump leaves. B, Hillary Clinton is charged. What will happen first? You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote via X, and I'm always very active on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHN as in National ER, at the Kuhner Report. A, Trump leaves. B, Hillary is charged. I want it to be B with every fiber in my being. I can't tell you how much I want this. Ugh. But I don't know. Maybe I'm becoming too cynical. I don't know. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very quick, because you can't pull a fast one on this audience. If you don't hit every single area of the strike zone, if you don't hit every angle, this audience will remind you. And again, I just want to thank you, because honestly, you really helped this show really just become one of the best shows in the country. And I can't thank all of you enough, honestly. All right. So Sue on Messenger makes a really good point. Jeff, do you remember during the 2016 campaign when Hillary Clinton was looking at the polls and it was still really tight between her and Trump and it was getting a little bit, uncomfortable? She started to panic. And what did she tell Donna Brazile? We're all going to hang. She was lashing out at Donna Brazile. You guys better get this campaign into high gear. If not, we're all going to hang by a noose. All of us, we're all going to hang. Completely right. I had half forgotten that. So she knew the crimes that she had already committed. I'm not talking about in the past. Even during the campaign, that we can't let Trump win, because then he's going to know what we've been doing to try to undermine him and frame him. Okay, very, very quick. This is from 703. And 703 makes a very good point. Jeff, remember Seth Rich and the mysterious death of Seth Rich? He was someone who worked at the Democratic National Committee and widely believed by most people to have been the person who leaked to WikiLeaks and Julian Assange about all of the corruption at the Democratic National Committee and how they were looking to frame Trump as an agent of Russia. Remember that? Those WikiLeaks that were so big, such an explosive story in 2016. And then Seth Rich just mysteriously died. And the police said it was a robbery gone bad. He was killed late at night walking back from, I believe it was a bar or a nightclub or whatever, but it was some late in the evening, early in the morning. They said he was killed due to a robbery, but none of his belongings were stolen. And people suspected that the Democrats and Hillary's henchmen and operatives had a hand in that. Well, listen now. This is an email that has been declassified and come out. This is from John Podesta. Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. And so he's talking about these calls that he wants to take. He's very worried about the email server scandal. He's worried about WikiLeaks. And he's worried about all these leaks at the DNC. And then this is what he writes. Quote, I'm definitely for making an example of a suspected leaker, whether or not we have any real basis for it. I mean, these guys are thugs. They're thugs. I mean, think about what he's just saying. In other words, you know, it's like Putin. Take him out to the outhouse. Like, somebody needs to kneecap this guy. And even if it's true or not, whether there's no basis or not, we have to instill fear. So if someone is accused of being a leaker, whether there's any basis to it or not, we're going to destroy that human being. So nobody dares to leak against us again. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. 617-266-6868. Lou in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Lou, and welcome.
Yeah, how you doing, Jeff? I hope they have to do something. And there is precedent for this. I went back and I was looking about Watergate. 48 members of the administration were in prison from Watergate, 48 out of 64, including, like, John Mitchell was an attorney general, and then you had Ehrlichman, Haldeman, and a whole bunch of the other ones. So there is precedent for this. And they really went after him on that. And Nixon, if he didn't get the pardon from Ford, he would have been indicted as well. So Bonnie, she has nothing to stand. They have to go. They have to do it. They have to do it. I mean, Watergate was nothing compared to this. This is like an enormous coup, an enormous underground operation there in the Democrat Party. And in the deep in the reaches of government. So they've got to do this. So he's got to do it. I would say that Hillary could get arrested. I don't know if she's mentally fit to get arrested, but just like Biden was after what Pam exposed about her, but she should be. And so should a whole lot of the other ones, and including Obama. And, you know, it may not win in the D.C. courts. May not win because the D.C. courts are so rigged. The cases might not be rigged, but they have to be out there. They have to be sent. They have to be arrested. They have to be tried, and they have to go out there. It has to be done. I mean, this is something that actually has to be done. Well, how many convictions they get, I don't know, but it has to be done. I had to go back also and look at why they got the Pulitzer Prize for reporting on this. It's funny. They say that they would gave it to them because they were deeply sourced and relentlessly reported. That was the reason they gave those Pulitzer Prizes to those people who reported on Russia, on the Russiagate thing. And that the whole thing was so rigged. I mean, how big was it? How much did it extend into the media? Now, and the other thing is what you brought up before. Why was Soros involved in this? They go after Musk for getting involved in government, but here you see that Soros is deeply involved. He should be, you should look into him too. What was he getting involved in these things too for? They've got to go after him. They've got to go after everybody, and we got to also remember that Russiagate, this whole thing, was responsible for Biden's win. Why? Because they used the whole Russia collusion thing and disinformation thing to stifle the laptop. So it just kept going on and on and on. The thing had legs. They didn't get Hillary, but they got Biden. And one thing Biden didn't do, he didn't use the auto pen on all these people. So they're ripe for conviction. They're ripe for being put on trial. So there's a lot of good stuff there. They just have to jump on it. I don't see how, considering how many of the Trump voters know about this or informed about this and really want this to happen and actually have been disgraced. And you were reading something, talking about something before, how people were just disgraced because they were pleading Trump's innocence and the innocence of the people who did get convicted and had lost friends and were called all kinds of names and were outed and done all kinds of other things for even taking Trump's side during the whole administration. This has to be done, don't you think? It has to be done. Period. Right?
Oh, I agree, Lou. I mean, it has to be done. I'm with you. But has to be and will be are two different things, right? And we've been very disappointed I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I mean, you know me. I'm all about charging the hill. To me, that's my life. My life is at charging the hill. So, to me, I'm saying, let's do it. I'm being honest. I look at Pam Bondi. I look at Kash Patel. I look at Dan Bongino. I don't know, man. You know what I mean, Lou? And you're making brilliant points. I mean, they gutted Nixon's administration. How many people went to jail? It was unbelievable. And you're right. Had Ford not pardoned Nixon, they would have indicted him. Hell, remember, they were gunning for Reagan over Iran-Contra. The Democrats were talking impeachment. They just didn't have the votes. And Reagan was just so freaking popular. But they were openly saying impeach and arrest. They wanted, remember, they were gunning for George W. Bush. So, and they got Trump. They arrested Trump 4 times. So what I'm saying is, how come it's only Democrats that can put people in jail? How come only Democrats can go after former presidents? What, we can't? So, no, I'm sorry. And the evidence here is so irrefutable. It's so incontrovertible. And frankly, it's so shocking and disgusting. So you're right. Arrests have to be made. Now, look, you can backdoor into it. If Pam Bondi's, I don't know why, but if she's nervous, okay, go after Andy McCabe. He'll flip on Comey. Comey will definitely flip. I think that Tim in South Carolina is completely right. Comey is nervous. Clapper's already lawyered up. He's petrified. Brennan now is really scared. So what I'm saying is you can work from the bottom up. I mean, you've got, I don't know how much more evidence. Seriously. I mean, you've got Hillary. When you were talking dead to rights, we've got her dead to rights. But if you want even further corroboration, and you say, okay, Clapper said, no, it came from her. We lied. She told us how to lie. We lied. We framed the president. Brennan, we framed the president. President Trump. Comey, yeah, no, we framed him. It was all at the behest of Hillary. Okay, if that's what you need. But start arrest somebody. If you don't want to go for McCabe, go for Strzok and Lisa Page. They'll give you McCabe. McCabe will give you Comey. Comey will give you Clapper. Clapper will give you Brennan. In other words, again, I don't want to overdo the football analogy. Guys, let's play offense. Let's play defense. Let's run the ball. Let's throw the ball. Let's tackle. Let's play to win. And maybe the Cleveland Browns will win the Super Bowl. Did you guys ever think of that? Lou, Thank you very much, my friend. Okay, 8-ish, not quite 8 o'clock, just a little bit over, but close enough. You know what that means. Kuhner's call log, caller of the week.
It's time for Kuhner's Call Log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
A beautiful blonde girl in a pair of jeans, smoking hot, rocking them. People love that. The very fundamental nature of the human being is to be drawn to something like that. It's no more, it's no less. It's how human beings are hardwired. And it's also a beautiful thing. And there are just some women that are just so angry, so bitter, so negative, so uptight that they overanalyze everything and make it sinister because they don't approve or they feel they don't measure up. And women are especially vicious to other women. I worked at a place once and there was a really beautiful woman, nice figure. She was lovely and the women hated her because they were all jealous of her. You know, and it's like, you know, she's got it. Celebrate her. You got it, babe. Let it go. But no, they had to bring her down. They had to tear her down. They had to make her miserable. I've seen it. It was vicious. The term mean girls, Jeff, this is what it is. Oh, yeah. It's the same way that, like, other people, like, bully somebody and tear them down because they're trying to draw an indirect comparison to themselves to show how much superior they are by ripping somebody else apart. It's the same deal. And I think it's a case of this. There's no fascism. There's no neo-Nazism. People are hardwired to like attractive people. It's the way that our species progresses.
And next week, it could be you on Kuhner's Call Log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again. You know what I love is that there's a coterie of regular callers, right? Best callers, as I say, always in the business. Best callers in the business. Natalie is one of those regular callers. And to see her now, you know, finally get caller of the week, it's great. Honestly, it's great because there's so many calls that she's made over the years. I'm like, that's a real contender for caller of the week. And Natalie, congratulations because you deserve it. You really do. Caller of the week. Okay, very quickly. This is from Mark on Messenger. And I think he makes an absolutely brilliant point. Jeff, not for nothing, but if nobody is held accountable or indicted or arrested for these major crimes against our country, about a presidential candidate and then a sitting president, what does that tell the citizens of this country and the rest of the world, for that matter, about the United States? Well, you know, and just because Mark has more to say, but that is so true. You know, for them to have pulled this off, they had to spy on Trump's campaign. That was one of the reasons why they ordered the spying on Trump's campaign. They went to the FISA court and said, this guy's an agent of Russia. And we believe he's got Russian collaborators, a la Carter Page and others, working on his campaign. When they knew, by the way, that Carter Page was secretly working for the CIA. He wasn't a KGB or FSB. He wasn't a Russian intelligence asset. He was one of our own. And yet they knowingly lied to the FISA court to spy on Carter Page and by extension to spy on Trump and his campaign. So they were literally spying not just on a rival's campaign, but then, and by the way, what was the Watergate break-in? Just very quick so everyone understands. Yes, it was a third-rate burglary, but this was the crime, right? It wasn't just a cover-up. Is that they then bugged the DNC headquarters, right? They committed the burglary at the Watergate Hotel, which is where the DNC was headquarters during the election campaign, Nixon versus McGovern in 1972. And they bugged the DNC so they could listen in. So they were basically spying on their rival's presidential campaign. That's why the media went, ballistic. The Democrats went ballistic. And then Nixon got ensnared in the cover-up. But the point is, the thought of spying on a presidential campaign, you're gone. You have to step down from office. It's not just that it was impeachable. They had the votes to remove Nixon. That's why Nixon resigned. Now, what they did against Trump, they didn't just spy on a rival presidential candidate and campaign, a la Watergate. They then spied on a sitting president of the United States. That's why I keep saying this makes Watergate look like a freaking Sunday picnic. So, Mark is completely right. The world is going to see this, that the previous administration, Obama, spied on his rival and then spied on after his rival became president, spied on both the campaign and then the actual president. And the country's going to say, and you guys are going to lecture us about democracy? You're going to lecture us about being a constitutional republic? You're going to lecture us how we should run our internal affairs? By the way, if another country, I'm stating a fact, okay? And we have a lot of listeners around the world, a lot of them, okay? Those of you in the Middle East, those of you in Eastern Europe, those of you, I don't know why, Brazil. We got a lot of listeners in Brazil. Love you, Brazil. I don't know why, but thank you. Let me ask all of you this. If one of your countries was caught having this scandal, okay, that a president had spied on his rival, then ordered the intelligence services to spy on the successor, the president, and had used the intelligence agencies to frame that person to implement a coup, our State Department would be imposing sanctions on your country. Am I wrong? We would be sanctioning you if you guys had done what we did. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? And I'm not wrong, and you know I'm not wrong. So, literally, the world is going to look at us and say, not only are you guys a bunch of hypocrites, but by your standards, forget Trump's tariffs, we should be sanctioning you. Mark then goes on to say, and this is, as they say, the coup de grace, the final nail in the coffin. I think he makes a brilliant point. Jeff, they also, meaning Bondi and Patel and the DOJ and the FBI, should arrest someone involved in this seditious conspiracy so that then the media will report it like crazy because they will have no choice. See, that's another reason why I keep pushing them. Make a freaking arrest. At this point, I don't care. They're all guilty. I'm not asking you to go after innocent people, which is what they did to us. I'm asking you, these people are guilty as sin. I'm saying, take anybody. Why? Because now they're ignoring this massive declassification of the Durham Appendix. They're trying to cover up for Hillary. They're trying to ignore all of these declassification bombshells that Tulsi Gabbard is now unleashed, that she's now revealed, because they're trying to cover up for the derelict. Because ultimately, the media is trying to cover up for themselves. Because they're directly now complicit, tied to this seditious conspiracy. They lied about Trump. They willingly lied about Trump. They played their part in this seditious treason, in this treasonous conspiracy. So in a way, they have to protect themselves. You arrest people, they will have no choice but to cover the story. And then they've got nowhere to run. Julie in Boston. Thanks for holding, Julie, and welcome.
I just have three quick statements.
Yes.
Number one, what happened to the phrase lead by example? Number two, no one's going to jail. I think you should have a C on your poll that neither will happen. And number three, I think those liberal media outlets should all have to make retractions, pay restitution, and Tulsi Gabbard gets to decide where the money goes. Those are my thoughts.
Oh, I like them. I sadly, I think, on your second point, you may be right. That's my big fear. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is a brilliant text. I mean, absolutely outstanding text. from 603. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470-70470. Okay, and it sums up so much so well. Jeff, I think this is a perfect opportunity to point out just what a B, rhymes with which, I can't say the word, B, I can't say, but B, what a B, fate and karma can be. And why it is so important for us to tell the truth, act with moral integrity, and always do our best in life to align ourselves with what is right. When I think of two people, and this is so true, who Hillary Rotten Clinton did her best to smear, libel, and politically destroy for her own personal gain, the two people prominently that come to mind are Donald J. Trump and Tulsi Gabbard. Remember when she called Gabbard a Russian asset? And literally tried to, just ruin her career and her reputation? And even had her on the terrorist watch list for a while because of what she said about her? Anyway, the person, 603 says, Jeff, think about it. The two people that she really tried to destroy politically, smear and libel, were Trump and Tulsi Gabbard. And yet now those very same people stand as the two seminal figures who are turning the tables on her and exposing all of Hillary's crimes for all to see. Hillary Rotten Clinton should remember that those who laugh last or cackle last laugh the loudest. I'm with you. I'm with you. Mike, can we get one of those cackles? One of those Hillary cackles? Like nails on a chalkboard, Oh. Yeah, she's not cackling too much now, believe me. But no, it's true. Think about it. The hunted have now become the hunters. And I'm telling you, Brennan is sweating, Clapper, Comey, and now Hildebeest. Hillary is nervous, and she should be. Andy? Okay, Mike, my ears are going to bleed. Mike, for God's sake. What are you trying to do? Kill me here just before the weekend? Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Andy.
Hey, Jeff, just quick question. Between Hillary's cackle and the latest from Bill in Sudbury, I'm starting to wonder if the Kuhner Man's going to need a bottle of aspirin.
No, extra strength Tylenol.
Okay.
Or Advil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a pounding headache, especially the front lobe of my brain, Andy. Oh, it hurts. It really hurts. Andy, go ahead, my friend.
Okay. Jeff, I'm a yes. I think there are going to be arrests, because a lot's pointing to the fact that there are going to be arrests, and
Andy, look, let me just say this. I just want to give you a second to recollect your thoughts, because obviously you lost your train of thought, which happens. Don't worry about it, Andy. I'm looking at the poll question now. I don't think I've ever seen this in the history of Kuhner country. Correct me if I'm wrong. Honestly, many of you have better memories about the show than I do. With my kids, and I hardly ever sleep, and, I get up so early in the morning. So, my memory at times is a little foggy about things about the show. So some of you, literally, the great listeners out there, you say, Jeff, you said this 7 years ago. I'm like, I did? Anyway, so correct me if I'm wrong. I've never seen this. We are as close to 50-50 as I've ever seen. So, Andy, I'm going to come right back to you. So the poll question of the day is, which will happen first? President Trump will leave office, or Hillary Clinton will be criminally charged? A, Trump leaves right now, 51.8%. Hillary is charged. It's now 48.2%. It's just Trump is, in other words, she's going to get away with it. Trump is going to leave and she's not going to be charged. It's basically 51-49. It's on a razor's edge. And I think, in a way, I mean, I love this audience. Please don't get me wrong. But I'm like, I was really kind of hoping for some guidance from you. Like you're split the way I'm split. I'm kind of like split myself. So I think you're kind of reflecting me maybe on this. But I was really kind of hoping for Kuhner country to say, no, Jeff, he's going to leave and she's not going to get charged. Or she's going to get charged. Relax, Jeff. Before he leaves, she's going to jail. But the audience is, it's 52-48. Now, you can vote on X at the Kuhner Report, Kuhner, at the Kuhner Report. I want as many of you to vote as possible. Or you can go to wrko.com/Kuhner. Mike, I want to go back to Andy in Milford. How much time? Okay, Andy, I'm going to come right back to you. You think she's going to go to jail? I hope you're right. Why?
Because here's the thing, Jeff. All these players, all of them, Clapper, Brennan, Hillary, Obama, his people, they had multiple chances to walk away from all of this. Matter of fact, President Trump, I believe it was the wrong decision.
Andy, hang on. I'm going to come right back to you. I want you to finish your thought. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go back to Andy in Milford. Andy, I just want you to know, just as we took your call, Andy, the poll question, it's a dog race. It is right down to the finish. Trump leaves was about 52%. Hillary charged 48%. Whatever you said, Andy, it flipped it. So Trump leaves is now at 49.6%. Hillary charged 50.4%. So for the first time since we introduced the poll question earlier this morning, a super slight majority of Kuhner country now believes that Hillary will be criminally charged before Trump leaves office. So whatever you said, Andy, it seemed to have persuaded about a good 30 to 40 voters, and now it's still close. It's neck and neck, but you've moved the needle, Andy. So, Andy, please, you said, Jeff, some of them are going to be arrested. You believe it's a matter of time. There's now just too much evidence that has come out. You look at Brennan, you look at Clapper, you look at Comey. They look desperate. And Hillary, this latest document dump, devastating. Please pick up where you left off, Andy.
Okay. To continue with my point, there are multiple occasions where they could have walked away from this. And Lord knows, with all the money they racked up with all their ill-gotten gains, they could have just walked away in the sunset, been set for life. But they would not stop, Jeff. And in the end, that is the one thing that's going to damn them, is the fact that they would not stop. And the evidence is now so overwhelming. And in any crime, Jeff, when you're looking at it, you got to look at all the angles on the motive. Keep in mind, the most damning stuff that's come out right now was found by Kash Patel in burn bags in a secret room in the FBI. Think about that for a minute. And I've and this just came to me while I was waiting to get on air, Jeff, that I think they were keeping this stuff around for a time for the purpose of blackmailing their own people to keep them in line. And just from what was found in the burn bags, I'm thinking, had Harris Waltz won the presidential election, all that material by then would have served its purpose, and it would have just been out the door and right off to the incinerator. We never would have found it. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the hand of God that a lot of this evidence was found. And we just need to hang in there. We need to stay the course, and there will be justice. And just two quick final points, Jeff. As far as justice in this thing concerning the media, all we need to do is to get one patriot lawmaker in Congress to submit a solid bill to restore the Smith-Mundt Act and just drive that thing all the way into the end zone. That'll bring justice in relation to the media. And other final point, if, and I do say if, Congress leaves for the month of August, Johnson and Thune need to put Congress into a true recess, no pro forma session, so President Trump can recess appoint the rest of his team. It's all inextricably linked at this point.
Oh, I agree. Andy, as always, you always make such good points. Andy, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Just very quick, because Mike and I were talking about this. Mike, by the way, voted. Just so that, you know, I have never voted in a poll, a Kuhner Country poll. Like, to me, I don't know, it's just like, you know, the host you just don't do that. And Mike said, well, why not? It's not against the law. Like, you're not going to get fired over it. You're not breaking any rules or, you know, it's not illegal. Like, I'm like, no, it just doesn't feel right. I don't know. It just sort of feels like I'm asking the audience. And like, I don't know. It's not my place to vote. But anyway, Mike votes. I didn't know this. He just taught me this. I never thought Mike voted. Mike votes almost every day. Now, I don't know if Sandy votes or not. But Mike votes every day. God bless him. And Mike said, Jeff, I'm really shocked at the poll number, at the poll so far. I said, well, why, Mike? He goes, well, I voted Trump leaves. He goes, I don't think they're going to go after Hillary. Why? Because the Republicans never go after anybody. He goes, so I think Trump is going to leave before Hillary. No one's, you know, before Hillary or frankly anybody's going to be charged. So I voted A in the poll. And he said to me, and I can understand his point of view. He said, Jeff, I thought Trump leaves would run away with it. He goes, I can't believe it's literally 50-50. And he said, why are so many in the audience optimistic or hopeful, like Andy, that, you know, Hillary's eventually going to get caught and be, you know, arrested and indicted and prosecuted and may even go to jail? I said, Mike, I go, this is what I think the reason is. And you tell me, all of you out there, if you agree or disagree. Think of a mobster. Everybody knows. Everybody. Okay? Well, that person was involved in that bank heist. That was his people. Everybody knows it. Like we knew what Hillary did. We knew Russia collusion came from her through Fusion GPS. This was widely reported by some people like me and others. But like that mobster, people said, yeah, but, you know, the mobster, that gangster always gets away with it. But now there's videotape of him sticking up the bank teller. There's videotape now of the bank holdup, of the bank heist. And now you're like, oh, I don't know now. And so, as I said to Mike, I said, Mike, this is what's changed. It's Tulsi Gabbard. It's everything now that's come out. Everything. As Andy and Milford, I thought, beautifully said, it's the hand of God. They were holding this as blackmail material on others, so they didn't destroy the evidence. They kept the evidence. And somehow Tulsi unearthed the evidence, found it, and now has released it, declassified it. And now we've got, in other words, the proverbial tapes. We've got the tapes. And you've got a president, and that's the key, that wants to start putting people in jail. That has been so burned by them that they were going to destroy him, imprison him, his wife, his children, destroy his business. That's why Trump said, look, I let Hillary off the hook in my first term. I was doing this as a patriot. I thought it was going to be bad for the country. Arrest the wife of an ex-president. Come on. I don't want us to look like that kind of a country. But after what they did to me, he goes, no. Now the gloves are off. So I think it's the combination now of all of this new devastating evidence and a president who's saying, no, I want him in handcuffs. Okay, there's a lot of stuff now flying on social media. Rumors, what people are saying, that Bondi is going to go after Hillary Clinton. That Trump is really putting a lot of pressure. He wants results. He's not going to take no for an answer. Apparently now CIA Director John Ratcliffe has now fed Tulsi Gabbard and the DOJ and the FBI even more damaging information about Hillary's involvement in manufacturing this smear against Trump that he was colluding with the Russians. So pressure, there's no question. The pressure is building and building and building. Now, super quick. Tulsi Gabbard, I'm telling you, she's on fire. She's on fire. At this point, if she continues to perform at this level, I think it's going to be inevitable. I don't know how J.D. Vance can say no. If J.D. does become the nominee, he's the vice president. Normally, that's the line of succession. Although Rubio, I think, would definitely challenge for the leadership in 2028. But let's just play it out, historically. J.D. would get the nomination. I think J.D. would have to go with Tulsi as his Veep. Again, you may disagree with me. I'm just calling it the way I see it. She's a standout. I mean, she's on fire. Anyway, so Tulsi Gabbard went on a podcast show. Now, just to set the table, this is very important. You need to hear this. The deep state now has been caught. There's no getting around it. It's called Operation Mockingbird. And this has been widely reported on, in which the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, the National Security Agency, the DIA, in other words, the intelligence community, have been working with the corrupt establishment media for years and years and years, in which literally the media has allowed themselves deliberately, purposely, to become the mouthpiece of the deep state. In other words, they're propaganda organs. They're propaganda mouthpieces. And I don't mean that you're spinning a reporter or you're manipulating a reporter or, a reporter is a little green or, whatever, and they buy something that the deep state is selling. No. The media has been working deliberately hand in glove with our intelligence community, with this deep state, to push their lies, falsehoods, and propaganda, as the Russians would put it, or disinformatio, okay, disinformation. Tulsi Gabbard is now asked about Operation Mockingbird and how this was used against Trump by Hillary and Obama, by Biden in 2020, and throughout Biden's presidency, and is it still going on today? Listen now to this. Roll cut 10, Mike.
Some would say that that's part of Operation Mockingbird. Some would say that that's part of what we learned in the church committee, that the intel agencies were using media outlets as their mouthpieces, and that those mouthpieces would parrot the official narrative. And I wanted to ask you, is this operation still going on? Are you aware of the intel agencies working directly with media outlets in order to push prescribed narratives that may or may not be true?
It's something that we've already had to deal with, Benny, within this administration, where there are people within the intelligence community who believe that their will is more important than the will of the American people, and will weaponize intelligence by leaking it to their friends within the mainstream media with the intent of undermining President Trump's agenda.
I mean, you want to know why the media is not covering any of this? Because, I mean, they're up to their throat. They're up to their eyeballs. They are directly complicit. They were literally part of the conspiracy. Now, how is this not, leave aside now, this is a political scandal. This is an intelligence scandal. This is a national security scandal. Yes, yes, yes. No question, okay? How is this not the mother of all media scandals? Like, the role of the KGB, I'm just giving you Russia as an example, Soviet Russia, was to work with Pravda and Izvestia and the quote-unquote media in the USSR. And all the media did was repeat the lies of the KGB. The KGB. Or this is what they did under the Nazis. The Gestapo and Goebbels pushed out the line and the media just parroted it. Now, how is this different? Remember, the role of the media, in theory, you're supposed to be adversarial. You're supposed to be completely independent. You're supposed to speak truth to power. You're supposed to hold power accountable. You're supposed to expose corruption and abuse in power, not be the handmaiden of power. Not be the expression, the mouthpiece of power. Because now you're state-run media. You're nothing more and nothing less than propaganda. That's all you are. So this is now what's come out. The CIA says we're lying, push out the lie, the media pushes the lie. The FBI says we're lying, we're going to concoct this lie, they just push the lie. And repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until the American people are softened up, brainwashed into believing the lie that they keep peddling. Now, how is this not the biggest? We don't have a media. I mean, we do shows like this, independent media, but I'm talking about corporate media. The big networks, cable news, the New York Times, the Washington Post. So what you're reading is, and notice now, go back. If you go back and look at the New York Times and the Washington Post, I'm just going to use those two as an example, but the Associated Press, all of them, they keep citing during the Russia collusion hoax on anonymity. They never give names. According to quote-unquote senior intelligence officials, intelligence now reveals President Trump was directly colluding with Vladimir Putin to impact the election and steal it from Hillary Clinton. And the question now is, what do the Russians have on Trump? You know who they're interviewing? It was the same people over and over again. It's Clapper. It's Brennan. It's Comey. It's whatever. It's like, okay, well, you're busy? Okay, we'll get this guy. Oh, okay, you're busy? We'll get her. But it's the same cabal. And they're just feeding the same misinformation and the same lies. So we're being bombarded with lies on a daily basis. And the media sees its role as bombarding us with lies. Operation Mockingbird is not just real. Tulsi Gabbard said not only is it real, it was part of their whole plan to frame Trump as an agent of Russia, and they're still actively doing it. They're still trying to destroy his presidency and using the media to do it. 617-266-6868. Paul in Holbrook. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
That's what I heard.
Paul. Paul, can you please get off speaker because you sound like you're in the Himalayas, but like we can't hear you. Go ahead, Paul.
Jeff, you kind of stole my thunder a little while ago. Exactly what you said. The media has a lot at stake here. They're pretty much complicit. I mean, this could not have happened. We can talk about all the deep state all day long and how evil and sinister they are, but they can't conduct anything. This never would have happened without their assistance. So for them to somehow turn the page, and I'd like to see them just recant some stuff, but I don't. How do they fire their entire, the New York Times, the CNN, all the networks? What do they do? I mean, they rolled with it, and to report on it, it's going to be a stinger. But there were two things.
Paul, you make a brilliant point. Listen, you make an absolutely brilliant point, which is they were directly complicit in it. And you're right. Look, they can concoct. You're completely right. Brennan, Clapper, Comey, let's just call them all out. Hillary, whatever, her that crazy aide of hers that invented the whole story, okay, Julia Smith. You can make it up all you want. But if no one is disseminating, spreading, promoting what you're saying, then who cares? So they never could have done it without the full coordination and cooperation of the media. And I think this is how deep the rot is. And you may agree or disagree with me, Paul. I don't think it's just a couple of reporters here and a couple of reporters there. No, it's the newsroom. It's the editorial leadership of the New York Times or the Washington Post or whatever, CNN, or take your pick. I don't care. In other words, management knew, ownership knew, the leadership knew. And they go, yeah. Look, because I'm telling you, I worked in a newsroom, okay? I'm telling you as it is. When a reporter has an explosive story, and there's nothing more explosive than the incoming president of the United States is an agent of Russia. I don't know how you get bigger than that. You call the reporter in to your office. I'm telling you, that's how it's done. Because if you're wrong, it's not just a lawsuit. It's going to bankrupt you. It's the mother of all lawsuits. It's the ultimate in defamation. So it's like a priest-penitent relationship that an editor has with the journalist. The door is closed. I'm not kidding. The blinds are closed. And you say, look, off the record, who's your source? And the journalist always tells the editor because he has to. Because the editor has to make a decision, do we run with the story? Like, in other words, I'll give you the newsroom lingo. How solid is your story? And I'm telling you, they told the editors, it's straight from Brennan. Really, straight from Brennan. Straight from Comey. It's straight from Hillary. Really? Yep. No, it's straight. Clapper. No. Yeah, got him. It's him. Okay, we're going with it. So they knowingly, consciously participated in this. If they report on this story, they're reporting on themselves. It would be the equivalent, not that you would ever do this, but just to push your analogy to its ultimate, the clarity, right? The logical clarity. It would be like you participating in a bank heist. And now you're supposed to report on it. Well, you can't because you were involved. You were part of the criminal conspiracy. That's why when I see all these conservatives complaining on social media, how come the media is not covering this story? I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Of course they're not going to cover the story. They're part of the story. They're part of the treasonous conspiracy. And the sad thing is, I'm telling you, you didn't even have to pay them. I'm telling you, I know how it works in Eastern Europe. The journalists there are on the take. So, yes, they'll lie, but at least they're getting paid. You say, well, okay, whatever. He's feeding his family, whatever. They went on a vacation to France, southern France. Yeah, okay. No. They lie out of ideological loyalty to the Democratic Party and to the deep state. They didn't even have to pay him. And watch, Vivek Ramaswamy, this was when he was running, in the primary against Trump and others. Vivek was confronting many of these reporters. I'm talking NBC, CBS, Associated Press, all of them, Boston Globe, and New York Times, and he confronts them. And he says, you all lied about the Russia collusion hoax. You lied over and over again. He kept saying that. Their answer to a man and a woman, you watch the exchange. It's dumbfounding. They said, well, that's what they told us. Like literally, well, no, that's what the intelligence community told us. Like they're not even denying it. They're like basically, yeah, Clapper told us. Well, Brennan told us. So if they told us, we got to print it. And if you know anything about journalism 101, just because they told you, you ran with it? You didn't check it out, as they say? You didn't verify it? You didn't corroborate it? You never asked, but is it true? You know, I could say anything. No, really. I could go and say, X is sleeping with pigs. Okay, well, if you said it, I'm going to write it. But is it true? Yes, it's a bombshell allegation, but is it true? In journalism school, this is what they used to teach. If your mother says, I love you, check it out. Meaning, even if your own mother says something, you don't believe her. You get at least a couple of other, 2. Usually the rule is 2, normally 3, but you can go with 2. 2 independent people to corroborate it. No. That's their answer. It's an unbelievable. Well, they told us. Well, then you're not a journalist. You're just a freaking hack. But that's all. So basically, they spoon feed you the information, and you just blindly, unquestioningly, like Pravda, like state-run media, or that's what they do in Iran. Well, the mullahs tell us, so we just repeat what the mullahs say. That's all. True, not. What do we care? We just run with it. So, Paul, you're dead on. That's why the media is not going to report on this. Because if they report on this, they expose and unmask their own criminal activity. Paul, final word to you.
That's exactly, Jeff, what it is. And you mentioned Vivek Ramaswamy, who was on Fox last night. He also mentioned something, too, that we can add. Actually, it was great what he said. It was just so accurate. When they start these scandals, these fake investigations, they start all this stuff, the deep state, the first thing they think of is they're going to make it. They know that eventually it would come out that it's not true, but they make it so complicated, so complex, so many layers that that people will just fall asleep trying to follow it, and they figure enough time will go by that it'll be too much for people to process. They have to get on with their lives, and that's what they do. That's what this thing had so many different channels it went through, and so many names, and so complex and complicated. And he said that's what they're banking on. That's what they want. They want complication. Nobody will be able to follow it. And unfortunately, he's correct in that. Look at all the other stuff. Look at Obama took some classified information and released it to all 17 agencies. I remember that happened right before he left office. So it'd be like trying to needle in a haystack, trying to get to the bottom of everything. That's intentional. So it gets so complete, and people are just going to give up. Like, hey, can we just move on? That's what they're looking for. That's how they do it. What say you, Jeff?
Oh, well said. Oh, you're completely right. Absolutely, completely right. And I think ultimately, Paul, they're counting on the fact that many Americans have short memories. Not this audience, but many Americans do. They have a very short memory span. And, it's one of our great strengths, but it's also our weakness. We're a very forward-looking people. We're a very optimistic people. We like to progress. Economically, we like to do well. We like to see the country do well. We believe problems can be solved. So we're very much a can-do people. So we don't like to look behind. We like to always look forward. And we always want the future to be better than today. And that makes us incredibly prosperous, incredibly productive, incredibly dynamic, maybe the most dynamic society in the history of the world. But if you're not looking back, those scandals, they're gone. And the deep state knows that very well. And I just think the other thing, Paul, I think the damage, the constant brainwashing, and I'm not just talking about this scandal, which was disgusting, but the way people were traumatized, brainwashed under COVID, the fear-mongering, the panic porn, how they can just constantly manipulate our emotions and bombard us over and over and over and over, and people just keep falling for it. That, to me, is what is most unforgivable. And notice, it's not even like during World War I or, whatever, where you say, well, no, that was propaganda to get them to go to a war. But they didn't do it often. It was just once in a while. Now it's constant. It's just nonstop. It's just 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's always something that they're trying to manipulate or control us with. And it's always involving false information, misinformation, disinformation. That's why I always have Bill and Sudbury on. Notice he's always wired up. He watches something like it's MSNBC is an outrage machine. It's just that's what they do. Outrage, outrage, outrage. Fed by the deep state. And so he's always wound up about something. It doesn't matter. Trump's a dictator. He's going nuts. Whatever. Epstein. He's involved with Epstein. You wind them up, and you can just point them in whatever direction you want. And sadly, that's most liberals. That's most Democrats. That's almost half the country. Thank you for that call, Paul. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quickly, I want to take more of your calls. There is a whistleblower. There's even more that came out. Okay, please, all of you, I know there's a lot of information. There's a lot that came out. So I don't want this, to be information heavy and to get into the weeds. I really don't. I want to always keep things simple and clear and clearly that, I don't want to bore people with just information overload. But you got to hear this. So on top of the Durham report, the annex being declassified, which is a bombshell, Tulsi Gabbard, as I said, she's just pouring it on now. So what she did, remember she promised that whistleblowers were going to come out and she was going to declassify so much more? Well, listen now to this. In that infamous January 2017, remember, this is about 2 weeks before Trump is sworn in, Obama orders the final so-called ICA, the Intelligence Classified Assessment. And that's the one that Brennan signed off on, and Clapper, all of them, Comey, the whole gang. And that's where they interjected the Steele dossier. And they put it now as the basis of this ICA, this Intelligence Community Assessment. Knowingly, by the way, they knew it was all made up, it was all garbage. A complete lie. Okay, that's now irrefutable. So now the problem is, they're going now. This is it. They're making their move. They're going to release the ICA. The media now is going to run wild with this. They're framing Trump. This is it now. Okay, the coup is now being executed. The frame up is now taking place. The problem is, as now Tulsi Gabbard has revealed, the intelligence professionals at the CIA, in particular, those that study Russia, that's all they do, decades and decades, all they do is study Russia, are all coming out one after another saying, but this is a lie. But this is just not true. It's partially true, half true, kernel of truth. They're like, no, this has absolutely no basis in evidentiary reality whatsoever. And one of the key players, and I think they're trying to keep his name or her name out of it, but the title was Deputy National Security Officer. And he's literally one of the top people who analyzes intelligence coming in from Russia. Now, he is the one in this exchange with Clapper and Brennan. He is literally protesting the politicization, his words, the politicizing of intelligence in order, as he puts it, to injure President Trump. And then, this is the part that's really scary. Clapper is now livid. Brennan is livid. Clapper is livid. Clapper sends some goon. Now, they've redacted the name. We're going to get the name. It's going to come out. But Clapper sends some goon who literally now threatens this deputy national security officer, this Russia expert, because they're like, we need you to sign off on this. If it comes out that the Russia experts are saying it's a lie, this is going to blow us up. We could go to jail. So you've got to give us buy-in. So this is now, so one of them says to this guy keeps saying, or her, he or her, this person keeps saying, I'm not signing off on this. To this person's credit, he keeps saying, I took an oath. I'm a professional. I'm supposed to give you objective analysis. Like, I'm sorry, this is so wrong on so many levels. So they're trying to pressure him. Here's now what's been released. They're saying now, they're trying to coerce him. Isn't it possible Putin has something on Trump to blackmail and coerce him? Like, almost like something. Come on, we just want you to say that. And he said, this is what he writes. After some debate, this is the expert now, I declined to alter my own analysis based on this suggestion. And then he goes on to say, for weeks and weeks, we went back and forth. They even forced us to have a meeting. But then the DNI, that Clapper sent one of his people. And they were accompanied by CIA Director John Brennan and FBI Director James Comey. And they then said that the Steele dossier is going to be included in the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment. Now listen to this. And apparently the decision to include the Steele dossier was made at the last minute by Comey as the three of them rode together in a government vehicle where the three of them said, no, we need the dossier in there. It's not going to fly unless we get the dossier. It's sensational. It's something we can say we got someone from MI6 to give to us. It'll give us enough cover to really destroy Trump. So he then says, according to me, and according to all of my experts on the Russia watch within the intelligence community, the Steele dossier was seen as, quote, non-credible sensationalism. And to my knowledge, he said, I told them the material had never been taken seriously by the intelligence community. So he then said, I asked them, how could you be labeling this as credible? He then said that they pushed back and that one person wrote back, and it looks like it was Brennan or Clapper, quote, you need to trust me on this. And then they sent a goon. And the goon said that if you play ball with us, you have to show to us, listen to this, my ability to, quote unquote, outgrow my commitment to objective analysis and tradecraft, that I was practicing what is a pseudo-religion, and that if I wanted to get a promotion, if I wanted to move up the ranks, I had to trust in their intelligence, trust in their judgment, that I had to be a quote-unquote corporate IC officer. 617-266-6868. Okay, we're going to go right back to your calls. But first, joining us now, as she always does at this time, she is the co-founder, CEO, president of Kelly Financial Services. And yes, that is her wonderful name, Kelly. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. I am good. A strong mind is one of your greatest assets in retirement, but nothing drains your focus faster than financial stress, especially health care. Many people don't realize how much Medicare does not cover. From out-of-pocket costs to long-term care, medical expenses can quickly become overwhelming, and that stress impacts your cognitive health. That's why we created our free guide, Don't Let Healthcare Expenses Derail Your Retirement. It shows you what to expect, what to plan for, and how to protect your finances so your mind stays clear and focused on what truly matters. The better your plan, the more peace of mind you will have. To get the free guide or to speak with one of our Kelly advisors, give us a call or email kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Jeff, I'll continue this conversation with our Kelly advisors tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Safe Money Strategies Radio. Do tune in or visit our website for the radio rewind. Jeff, have a wonderful weekend. My best to Grace and the kiddos.
You too. Have a wonderful weekend, Kelly. And to all of you out there, if you want to get a free copy of that guide, call 888-800-1881 or email kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Okay, just very, very quickly, because I just want you to know the full story on this whistleblower. The whistleblower now, this is another shocking development. The whistleblower says there's then a meeting that he has with Clapper and Brennan and others, in which at that meeting, because he's like adamantly, he's a professional, and he's like, but you can't believe the Steele dossier. Like, how could you include it? How could you even ask me to sign off on this? And Clapper and Brennan, but especially Clapper, and I can't use this word on air, but that was the word that was used. Clapper tells this whistleblower, quote unquote, we know the Steele dossier is bull crap. Okay, BS, Bravo Sierra. We know it's BS. It's bull. You know what? Deep. Okay, he goes, yeah. He's like, so why are you including it? And he says, that's above your pay grade. We need you to sign off on this. So the whistleblower, to his credit or her credit, refuses to sign off. There were repeated attempts that they wanted him to sign off on this false information. And the whistleblower said, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to do it. That I'm not going to participate in manufactured intelligence, fake intelligence, phony intelligence. And so he then said, listen to this. Now his career was cut off. They threatened him and he never got promoted after that. He was harassed. They made his life miserable. They did everything in their power to try to push him out and ruin him. So he said professionally he paid the ultimate price. He never, ever recovered professionally after he stood up to these thugs. But he then, this is key, he then attempted to report these concerns that he had. In other words, this is all a lie. Like, you realize that they're doctoring the intelligence. They're contriving it. They're manufacturing it. They're politicizing it. He went to the intelligence community IG, the Inspector General. Nothing. He then told Special Counsel Durham. Durham took that information but stuck it in the appendix, that coward, which was classified. So Durham he was basically too spineless, too much of a coward to report what this whistleblower and others were saying. It wasn't just him. There were other whistleblowers who literally corroborated every aspect. In fact, they corroborated each other's stories. And so That's why he is very grateful to Tulsi Gabbard. And this is what she wrote on X. Quote, "Thank you to this courageous whistleblower and others who are coming forward now, putting their own well-being on the line to defend our democratic republic, ensure the American people know the truth, and hold those responsible accountable." Now, there's more. There's going to be even more whistleblowers coming. Now, I agree with Jonathan Turley, professor at George Washington University. He's a legal analyst on Fox News. Brennan is completely exposed. He's completely exposed. That's why he's panicking. Clapper, completely exposed. Comey, completely exposed. If they want to bring those three men, the three stooges, if Pam Bondi wants to take them down, she's got them. She's got them. And I'm telling you, those three can take down both Hillary and Obama. 617-266-6868 is the number. Doug in Maine. Thanks for holding, Doug, and welcome.
Well, second time, long time.
Welcome, Doug. Welcome.
Two words come to my mind a long time ago, and that's military tribunal for these clowns. Because then I believe it'll be broadcast more, and the world will know about it. I'll let you talk on that.
Oh, I agree, Doug. Before I let you go, this is the crisis now that they've created. That's why I'm telling you, I think they have to go to jail. And I promise I'll answer your question. But look, I even had it with Iran, the decision by Trump. I mean, I supported the decision. I think in retrospect, it was clearly the right decision. But now there's so much mistrust of the intelligence community because they've been caught manufacturing evidence over and over and over. So if the intelligence community says, for example, Iran has the nuclear bomb, do we believe them? Do we not believe them? You see, I'm just giving Iran as an example. If they tell us anything, who can believe them after this? You see, that's the problem. Because they've corrupted our intelligence agencies so much and politicized it so much that now, here's the danger. They may be telling us the truth, but we may never believe them again. Or they may be lying to us, and again, they'll take us to do a war or whatever. In other words, if we don't clean house, Doug, how can we ever trust our intelligence community again? Am I wrong, Doug?
Not a bit. That's what has to happen, and I hope maybe the military tribunal people give that some thought. I don't. Oh,
I agree. I so agree. No, look, Doug. I think we need to see military tribunals. This can't be in some D.C. court with an Obama-appointed judge in front of a partisan jury. Why? Because there's a conflict of interest now. You were appointed by Obama. You're there to protect Obama. You were appointed by the Clintons. You're there to protect the Clintons. And when you're dealing with treason, and this is treason, and you're dealing with a seditious conspiracy, and this is a seditious conspiracy, this is national security. This is the greatest scandal in American history. What they are, they're modern-day Benedict Arnolds. I'm serious. That's what they are. I'm sorry. That's got to be that's a military tribunal. And if it goes to a military tribunal, they're all going down. And that's why I think if Bondi just has the guts to do it. Jeff in the great state of Tennessee. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Well, good morning, sir. Thank you for catching me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I love that Southern accent, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Seriously, with that Southern twang, you can just talk and talk. To me, it's like music to my ears. So whatever you say, Jeff, I'm yours. I'm captivated. I'm listening. Go ahead, my friend.
I hope I don't rabbit trail. Look here, man. I'm skeptical about people getting arrested. I am a Donald Trump fan. I believe in what's happening and how he has become the second term and all of that. But Mike, you just mentioned that you said, think in my head real quick. You just mentioned you want Hillary Clinton, you want Bob or Obama, correct? My question is,
sure. Jeff, wouldn't you like to see Obama pay for this? Be held accountable, Hillary, the Hildebeest?
I do, but here's my question. Who or what is the ultimate prize? Is it Barack Obama? Or is it Hillary Clinton? Or is it the people that hid his records and ghostwrited and allowed the ghostwrite? So now you're getting into Operation Mockingbird, and the one gentleman called in about the Smith-Month Act. But I don't think Obama's the ultimate prize. Is it George Soros? You see where I'm going with this right here?
No, I understand. No, well, Jeff, look, you're obviously a smart man, and you're like, okay, well, is it the figureheads or is it the people, the power behind the throne, the people behind them? Jeff, I hear you. Look, I'm being much more pragmatic about this. You're being much more, in a sense, logical and very principled and philosophical about it, and I respect that tremendously. I'm at the point now, I just want somebody arrested. We need to start seeing people being held accountable for their crimes. So they don't do it again. Jeff, my big fear, and this is, I think, what's underlying all of this, is the deep state may be back. They're still entrenched, but what I'm saying is, say J.D. Vance loses in 2028, or whoever the nominee is. The deep state's going to be back in power. Whoever the Democrats pick, they're all coming back. And this time, they're going to say, you know what? We're not going to be so stupid as to leave a paper trail. So they're going to just tighten their grip on the country and cement and consolidate their power. And so they'll commit even more of these outrageous crimes against us. So we only have a window now to get them, and a window now to set an example. And, if just even a couple go to jail, in the future, people are going to say, I'm not going to do it. Why? Because I don't want to go to prison. But if everybody skates, as sure as the sun rises, Jeff, they're going to do it again and again and again. And then I think our beloved republic is lost. So, look, for me, the ultimate fish here is Obama. Hillary as well, obviously, but it's Obama. Because I believe he was the Manchurian candidate. I think there's no question. They sealed his health records. They sealed his college records, his education records. I don't believe his phony baloney birth certificate. I don't. I think he was groomed to come into the White House and to literally subvert and destroy us from within. And that's pretty much what he's done. So I want Obama to pay. And I believe if they catch him on this, everything else is going to be exposed about Obama. And the Democratic Party will never, ever recover from this scandal. No, Jeff, look, I'm kind of with you when you say, Jeff, I think no one's going to get arrested. It's Pam Bondi. Again, nothing against her personally, really, honestly. You need a warrior in there, man. Like they say in The Godfather, if you saw the movie, but you need a wartime consigliere. You need a fighter. You need someone who's not afraid to really get into the trenches. And I just don't see that. I haven't seen it so far. So that's my concern. Final word to you, Jeff.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm just, the focus, everybody's focusing on Obama's the prize. Hey, man, great. Let's get him. He is the front man, but people that's behind him, and the Department of Education, the Mockingbird, all these people we can't, did I hear it from you or somebody else that last week that Donald Trump is being pressured about the Epstein list not coming out because of foreign governments?
Yes, yes.
All of this needs to come out, man. You're not my daddy. You're not my daddy.
No, I agree. No, Jeff, really, no, I agree. Jeff, I love that accent. I Jeff, thank you very, very much for that call. No, I agree. But look, right now, I'll settle for McCabe. I'm telling you, and hopefully McCabe will roll on Comey. At this point, I'll just give me something.